Hi guys, Lorgan the Truck here, and just a heads up, this video kinda had two different recording sessions. One was previously on the 15th of October, when certain details about the game weren't out yet, and currently at the 17th of October, newer information about the game has come up that I will talk about it a bit more in this video as it is. Because originally it wasn't going to be a part of the video, but because of the recent news related to the game at this very moment, I figured to actually now add it into the conversation as of right now. So while I say that the game is coming out on the 3rd of November and I try to get this out on the 1st to the 2nd of November, it has changed a bit, which I'll go into a bit detail later. So just for those who are wondering what I'm talking about and why I say it's coming out in this date when it's come out in a different date now, that's why. And this video was mainly improvised. There was no script written for this video whatsoever. It was just me purely just going off about the game for about, I don't know how long exactly, but it was just me saying as it is without a script. So just figured to give a little heads up about that at the moment. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy this video. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the video. Back in August of this year, I made a video talking about Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, just when it was announced and what little details we know about it back then. And in September, I made a review for the first Nick All Star Brawl game, and mentioned that around in October, I would make another Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 video that would kind of contain all the stuff that we know about the game before its release. Well, by the time this video goes up, this will be literally a day or two before the game is supposed to come out in November 3rd, so just came out in November instead of October. Still, I got it though. This is more of an update to the August video I made, and more or less containing stuff that we do know about the game officially now, so let's just get on with it. Though I should mention that this is just purely what we know. In terms of how the game plays, how it actually feels to play, that will come out some point around November or December when I get the game and get to play it more. But for now, like I said, this is more just like a quick summary of what we do know about the game, and if it is worth the purchase depending on how you view everything that we know about the game currently. So let's get on with this. One of the main things about Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 that had a lot of people kind of pondering over would be the characters. How many would return from the first game, and how many newcomers would come? Because from the trailer, we knew that Squidward, Jimmy Neutron, Donatello, and Raphael were new to the game, but there was still plenty of questions about the characters from the first, as well with this leaked image on Amazon UK that featured the other 7 newcomer characters in the roster, which I did talk about in my original video, but I made sure to keep that kind of for those who do know or want to know, just for those who didn't want to know and be surprised on which character was coming to the game. Well, if you know about that UK Amazon leaked image, well, it's 100% true because this is the full roster. I mean, for the base roster anyway of the game. We have 25 characters in the base roster. Compared to the first, that's 5 more characters than the first game did, where it had 20. But also, the first game in general had 25 characters included when you have the DLCs included. So yeah, not that much of a real difference if you go by that mindset. But regardless, here are the characters that are coming to Nick All Star Brawl 2 as a part of the base roster. Let's start off with SpongeBob SquarePants, which has 4 characters included from this series. We have SpongeBob and Patrick, both returning from the first game, and we have Squidward Tentacles and Plankton, 2 newcomers to this game. The first game had 3 characters featured from that show with SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, so we do have more characters from SpongeBob featured with 4 instead of 3, but also we have the mix between 2 old and 2 new characters. I'll get into about Sandy in a minute, but for now, SpongeBob so far has the most amount of characters featured in the game so far with these 4 characters. For the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we have 3 characters represented in this series. We have April O'Neil returning from the first game, but we also have Raphael and Donatello. In comparison to the first game, at least from the base roster, they also had 3 characters from that series, but later on as DLC came out, TMNT had 4 characters included, with Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Shredder being a part of the roster. So, really enough, we kind of gone less characters represented in the TMNT franchise currently, but it's also even, we only got like 1 character from that show returning, with the other 2 being new to this game, so I'll get, again, like with Sandy, I'll get into that in a second, but at least for the TMNT franchise, we still got 3 characters represented in this show. The Avatar franchise, which I'm still counting both The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra into one series because they are essentially from the same universe, also still has 3 characters represented of this franchise. We still got Aang and Korra returning from the first game, but new to this one would be Azula. Ta, again, I'll get into her in a second, but she's the only character from the show that's not represented. But still, the Avatar franchise still has 3 characters. It just changes the earthbending one with the firebender. So that's the only real change from the Avatar franchise. Danny Phantom has 2 characters represented in this franchise this time compared to the first. While we have Danny Phantom himself returning, we also got Ember McLean joining the roster. So in general, we do have 1 additional character from this show, making Danny Phantom now have multiple characters for its franchise. So at least there is that for Danny Phantom. And finally, there's Hey Arnold, which has 2 newcomers, which also means that it is going to have more than 1 character from that show represented, but in general, we got 2 different characters featured this time. We got Gerald, Arnold's best friend, and his grandma Gertie, as a part of the roster. Helga's the one that's missing this time, and again, I'll get into her in a second, but Hey Arnold's the only other franchise in this game to have multiple characters featured. But in general, SpongeBob, TMNT, Avatar, Danny Phantom, and Hey Arnold are the only shows to have more than 1 character representing the franchises in this game. Because apart from that, we have a lot of 1 character representing 1 show in this game, with 2 shows in particular having 1 character being removed from the first game, so let's get into that. Starting off, we have the Loud House, which only includes Lucy Loud. That basically means that Lincoln is not returning for this game. Kind of a weird choice, especially considering Lincoln's the main character, but it still have the 1 Loud House character that, generally speaking, has a personality and has an aesthetic that makes her unique to a platform fighter, and given the spotlight, which I'll get into in a second as well, she looks fun to play, so I can't really complain about that. The other series that has 1 character cut from the roster would be from the Ren and Stimpy series. We still got Ren and Stimpy as a duo character, but Powder Toast Man from the first game is completely gone. Again, I'll get into him in a second, but in general, the Loud House and Ren and Stimpy are the only shows that have 1 character be cut while still having another character from the first game representing the show. But for the case for the 1 character represented roster in this game, we still got Reptar representing the Rugrats franchise from the first game, we have Sim for the Invaders Sim, we got Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries, Garfield from Garfield, Jenny XJ9 from My Life as a Teenage Robot, and Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life. We do have another change now I realize it. We have Jimmy Neutron as a newcomer to the game, but Hugh Neutron is not returning in this game either. So Jimmy Neutron's another one, like with Loud House and Ren and Stimpy, that changed the roster. So, I mean, in general, Jimmy Neutron being in here is cool, he's the main character, but given the whole Hugh Nation thing last year and how big that was to the first game, to have Hugh Neutron as a playable character, it kind of feels like a little weird now, but again, we still got Jimmy Neutron, we still got him featured in the game, so I can't really complain much about that. We also got 2 newcomers that once again are 1 character represented series, but also that these shows haven't been featured by Nickelodeon in such a long time. This would be with El Tigre from El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Marina, and Norbert and Daggett as a tag team character from the Angry Beavers. So, we still got some shows that haven't got the spotlight from Nickelodeon after so long come back. So, it's still cool. And at least for El Tigre, there is another 2000s Nickelodeon show represented in the roster, which is still cool, but it still feels like a lot of the 90s Nickelodeon shows being represented in this roster. But I personally don't really have a problem with that, personally. So yeah, that's at least for the initial roster we have right now. That's our 25 characters. Again, it's up to personal opinion on how you feel about the roster. I personally feel like it's fine. It has a nice balance between having the characters from the first game, expand them onto the sequel, while having a good amount of newcomers and additional characters from certain shows into this game. So, I feel like that's a good balance. Now comes about the current characters. Like I mentioned, there are several characters from the first game that aren't returning in this. Though from what I've heard, originally it was only supposed to be 5 characters that were meant to be cut from the roster completely. Like, these 5 characters were not returning for this game no matter what. These would be with Sandy, Ta, CatDog, Lincoln, and Shredder. Not much information has been given about why Sandy, Ta, and Lincoln in particular were removed, while CatDog, we kind of got a little bit of info on why they were cut in particular. Apparently, they were a hard character to program in the first game, which is kind of why they were so busted in the original Nickelodeon All Star Brawl game. And given the sequel's new slime mechanic, I honestly can't see why it would have been difficult to rework CatDog with that system if they were already a hard character to program in the first game. So with CatDog, as unfortunate as it is to have them removed because they were up to my mains in the first, I can legit understand why they would have been cut. As with Shredder, we have some info that could lead into the fact that he could be appearing as a boss character for the story campaign. So, Shredder is still in the game somehow, just not in the same role as he did in the first game. Hell, Lincoln is supposedly now mentioned of being in the background of one of the stages, so he's still in the game too, just not as a playable character. Nothing yet about Sandy, Ta, or CatDog even returning as an NPC character or just a background character in a certain stage, so for those characters we don't know anything about. But like I mentioned, that's 5 of the characters. These were the ones that were meant to be cut from the beginning. The other 6 characters, however, Oblina, Powder Toast Man, Hugh Neutron, Helga, Leonardo, and Michelangelo, they were meant to return to this game. But Nickelodeon couldn't help but repeat a pattern that they did with the first Nickelodeon All Star Brawl game. If you remember my Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1 video, I mentioned about Garfield and Shredder being added as free DLC characters after Nickelodeon rushed the crew to release the first game, not giving them the chance to put those characters into the game when they were finished at times. So, like I said, they came out later for free when they were, all sorted out and able to work in the game. So yeah, we repeat a pattern that the first game had when it comes to these 6 characters. And well, we kind of see how that's kind of affected some of them. Helga has appeared in the background of one of the Hey Arnold stages in the game, and from what I've heard, both Hugh Neutron and Powder Toast Man could be appearing as NPC characters for the story campaign. As for Oblina, Leonardo, and Michelangelo though, we don't know anything about them. We got nothing that could suggest on where they're going to be placed in the game, or if they're just completely cut altogether. I'm hopeful that maybe, kind of like what's similar to Garfield and Shredder, that maybe these 3 characters can potentially be added as free DLC characters to keep the game going until the season pass comes out. But again, that's wishful thinking. I don't know how things are going to work out between Ludosity and Nickelodeon in terms of this whole thing, so for all we know, these characters can potentially be out of the roster altogether, and they might have a chance of returning, or just continue to stick with the current plans they have with the game currently. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing to hear that there is that many cut characters, even if personally I still don't mind the current roster we do have for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. But I can't understand why some people could be a bit upset about that, even if platform fighters or just fighting games in general, when it comes to more games of a franchise, they do tend to cut characters out regardless on how popular they are in the other previous games. So it's just unfortunate, but maybe for some it's expected. So yeah, that's probably about it when it comes to the cut characters of the first game. Another thing I mentioned in my Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1 video was that the skins were basically not great. Like, there were a few characters that had good skins, like with Chenny, the Turtles, and a few other characters that directly changed the appearance of the character, but a lot of the skins for the characters were just hats. Luckily though, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 is changing it by having a lot more skins per character. And while we don't know every specific skin for the character yet, or even how you unlock them, from what these spotlights have shown about the characters, there are generally a lot of different looks for the characters. SpongeBob, for example, while having the soda drinking hat from the first game, he also has a Mermaid Man costume and wearing his Krusty Krab hat, and from what we heard, the upcoming season pass that includes a premium SpongeBob skin will also contain a Quickster costume. Like Patrick having his Barnacle Boy costume, wearing the Patrick Man persona in one of the episodes, him wearing a blue and white pants, which I think is based on a t-shirt featuring this, and a pre-order skin does have the elastic waistband costume. Squidward has a few, like a marching band outfit from Bang Geeks, an artist outfit, and a Viking outfit. Plankton has a robot decoy that's from the second SpongeBob movie, and has two different robot designs from the Robotic Revenge video game feature. So in general, there are a lot of costumes for the characters, while we don't know how many there will be per character, and especially with some cases, we don't know how you unlock the skins, because currently the Ultimate Edition of Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 does come with a costume for every character, so while I don't know how many of them you can get in the game as it is, and the others you can unlock via the Ultimate Edition, there is still a lot of attempts to change the look of the characters and add some references to each specific franchise's history. Because if we're getting other movies and video games referenced in this too, that means we have a lot of material for some shows featured in here, like with SpongeBob, Garfield, TMNT. There was still a lot of other stuff that they can pull out from for costumes. Hey guys, Nickelodeon here, just quickly recording this bit. As of currently on the 25th of October, we currently got Reptar's Spotlight released, and within the video, we do get to see something else that caught my attention in terms of character skins, where we do see Reptar as he's fighting against a Dark Garfield. The fact I just said Dark Garfield for an official product of Nickelodeon is hilarious, but this video also shows that this is from an online match, so here's my quick 2 cents about that. Number 1, this more likely will be a thing for the story campaign, where as we play as SpongeBob throughout the campaign, we fight against the other characters in the roster, who is, I guess, probably controlled by Vlad, or have these like darkened clones of everyone or something like that, I don't know. But we'll fight these darker forms of the characters in the roster. Once we beat them, that's when we unlock them in the story campaign and do their own individual storylines. But also shown in this clip is that we do get to see that this is from an online match between 2 of the test players of Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. So this could suggest that every character in the game will have these dark, corruptible versions of themselves as a costume, which is going to be awesome to see. And another way to tell who is who apart if you have to pick 2 or more of the same character in the match. So that is definitely going to be exciting to see, just like how these characters will look in these darkened forms. But it's funny to think now that we're officially in a timeline where we can say there is a Nickelodeon platform fighter that has Dark Garfield, Dark Nigel Thornberry, Dark Angry Beavers, Dark Ren and Stimpy, which for Ren, This is just him on a normal day. Like, he's already evil enough as he is. He doesn't really need to be corrupted by Vlad to be even more evil. Yeah, and that's about it, so let's return back to the video. While the first game had voice acting, it was only added after the game was released, whereas comparison to this game, we have voice acting from the very beginning. A lot of the characters from the first game either have their original voice actors from the show, or just their actors from that game. Like SpongeBob still has Tom Kenny, Patrick has Bill Fleckenberg, April O'Neil has Abby Tots, Lucy has Cheska DiColo, Reptar has Fred Taskenscore, stuff like that. We have a lot of the majority of the original voice actors from the first game back. As for the newcomers, we also do have a majority of the original voices from the shows back for this game, like with Roger Bombast as Squidward, Doug Lawrence as Plankton, Paul Paulson as Raphael, Barry Gordon as Donatello, Dresden Emile as Gertie, stuff like that. We have a majority of the original voices from the shows back to voice them in the game. The only one I can tell is a big difference is with Gerald, as he's voiced by Lemaine Hamilton, who voiced the character in the third Car Racer game. So while he is returning to voice the character, it's not the original voice actor from Hey Arnold. So that's the only real difference between them. We only have 3 characters that we have no idea on who they're going to be voiced by. Nigel Thornberry and Aang, for example, I thought they would be voiced by their actors from Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1, but currently they don't have that featured. And Azula is kind of weird, but I thought she would have been voiced by Gray Dizelle, who's voiced her in the show and other video games from Avatar. But from that initial reveal trailer, it doesn't quite sound like her, so I don't know if they got someone else to voice the character for this game, or is it actually Gray Dizelle? We gotta find out later on, but for the most part, we do have a majority of the voice actors back from the first game, and most of the original actors for these characters in general. And from what I've heard, they will be having a lot of dialogue. From not only just the game normally, but from the story campaign, there was a lot of single-player dialogue in there. So that gives me hope to hear a lot more original dialogue with these characters rather than the first game, where it felt like the characters' greatest hits in that one. While I haven't got a chance to play the game just yet, clearly from what we've seen from the trailer and all these character spotlights, the gameplay has definitely changed a lot compared to the first game. How much so? Well, let's take a quick look and see what has specifically changed from the gameplay for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. The game uses analog control rather than digital control, allowing you to walk and run as well as control your speed in the air. When you move the character, they act like they're walking, but they're generally they go extremely fast. And also, I don't think they really had much control in the air, just the moment you fall, you're falling in that same gravity, no matter what directional button you press on it. So, a good change anyway. The rock, paper, scissors mechanic was removed. I am thankful for this because I even said in my original Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1 video that in general, I still don't know what this mechanic was really here for and why. It still didn't work with me. It just felt off, and while it was a way to distinguish itself from Smash Brothers, it felt like a change just because it was a change. It was a different element to add into this game. It just felt like a different mechanic to add into Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 1 just because it would help it stand out from Smash Brothers. So, I am thankful that this mechanic has been completely removed for the sequel. Tap Jump is now available, allowing you to jump by pressing up on the control stick. It's a thing from Smash Brothers. Some people like it. I personally am indifferent about it. I have no opinions on it. But it is there for the competitive or Smash Brothers fans, so, it's there. Horizontal attacks were added, with every character now having a neutral ground attack, side ground attack, neutral air, forward air, back air, and side special. I can't recall how it played in the first game, but it is another thing that is from Smash Brothers that's into this game, so if it works, don't break it, I guess. Strong attacks can now be charged for extra strength. Again, another Smash element. If you hold down a particular strong attack and held it for a few seconds, it'll give off a stronger attack and even more of a hitbox. Like I think even the knockback can be increased depending on the amount of time you hold the strong attack. So that will definitely help. You know, if you're that type of person that plans attacks out and you can just see someone like heading straight to you or up in the air, that kind of helps out a bit. There are no light or strong dash attacks, only one dash attack per character. I think I remember this being a thing in the first Nick All Star Brawl game where if you just want an attack, you just do a little special attack, while if you do with a strong attack, you do, well, a strong dash attack as it is. It's just I guess it was a fun way to play with the dash element, where here is just a simple one dash attack, which is still gonna help out if you have the chance to use it, so a good change, honestly. Walls and air dodges were added, allowing you to dodge attacks on the ground and in the air. There are two types of air dodges, a neutral air dodge that keeps your momentum, and a directional air dodge that moves you in the desired direction. I think that is also a thing from Smash Brothers, so another thing that's carried over that still works. The grabs and throw system has been completely overhauled. You can no longer grab in the air. Horizontally, dash grabs have been added. I remember that was a case where even if you're in the air, you can just grab someone and just toss them into the pit below you so you can get an easier KO out of that. And that has definitely made some interesting matches from that system, so to see it removed is kind of an understandable thing here. You can no longer carry your opponent with you when grabbing them. Instead, each character has 4 unique throw attacks that can only be used on the ground. This was a point I mentioned in my first Nick All Star Brawl video, is that characters like SpongeBob, Sim, Link and Loud, suddenly they're able to carry characters like Nigel, Reptar, and Shenny without ease. So this will definitely play more like a Smash Brothers, where you have the 4 directional buttons to toss the character or whatever way you want. You can go straight forward, you can have them up in the air, you can throw them behind you, or slam them onto the ground. And again, given the 4 unique attacks, every character will have a different animation related to that move. So that'll be fun to actually see how they work out, because we have already seen with Squidward where one of his attacks is just slamming a door onto whoever he grabs. So it'll be fun to see what other characteristics elements will come up whenever the characters grab each other. And you can no longer grab projectiles. I remember this being a thing in the first game where certain projectiles, like with SpongeBob's bubbles, can be caught and then thrown back towards the person who sent it. Whereas here, it's just like the moment SpongeBob blows a bubble, it only hurts anyone else, regardless, and whatever they do. They can't grab it and throw it back to them. So I can understand that, because there was some crazy plays with the projectiles because you can grab them and use them against people, so an understandable change. A shield now appears when blocking, which breaks after enough damage is done to it, or when you are blocking for too long. When the shield breaks, you are stunned for a short time. Again, Smash Brothers. You held on the block that the more damage that is done to it, it will break, or the longer you hold the shield, it'll just break apart itself and will leave you stunned for those few seconds, leaving you vulnerable for anyone else. So, again, a Smash Brothers element, but again, if it works, that's all that matters. Parries no longer require holding the control stick in the direction of the attack. You only need to block right before it hits. I'm not really a guy who knows how to parry unless it's just purely by accident, so I mean, that probably helps some people who know how to parry, but for me, that's just kinda words. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have to actually do it to actually see how that works, so again, it's there for those who know how to parry at the right time. And every character now has 3 taunts. I forgot to mention this in my Nick All Star Brawl 1 video, but characters had taunts, and again, kinda like with the skins, the characters just had only 1 taunt, like SpongeBob having the chicken meme, Sim probably laughing, multiple characters just had that like 1 taunt and that's it. Where now we can have 3 different taunts per character, so that'll be fun to see again what other characteristics come up with the taunts alone, alongside with the grabs. New to this game is the Slime Meter. The Slime Meter is a mechanic where dealing damage to opponents fill up the meter found below your percentage. which can be expanded for multiple unique abilities. Enhancing special moves. Every special move has a more powerful variant that enhances the damage, size, recovery distance, and or adds new properties, which only costs 1 bar of the meter. Slime Burst. When launched by an attack, you can instantly cancel your momentum to save yourself from being KO'd while also knocking away any nearby opponents. It also allows you to escape from combo attacks, though this one will cost you 2 bars of the slime meter. Slime Canceling. Allows you to instantly cancel the end lag of any attack, letting you perform absolutely any other action, like dodging, attacking, jumping, etc. Slime Canceling next to an opponent temporarily freezes them in place, allowing an easy combo opportunities. This only uses 1 bar of the slime, though any attack used after a slime cancel will be weaker than using it on its own. Because of this rush mechanic, dash attacks can no longer be used to be cancelled at will. You must use the meter to do so. Air Dashing. Allows you to do a quick dash in the air, much like in the first game. While it provides no invincibility, it's much faster and can be cancelled into any attack while also using 1 bar of the meter. Super Attack. A powerful finishing move that does a huge damage and knockback to any opponent caught within the initial activation hitbox. Every character has a unique cutscene for their super, though they all seem functionally identical. So regardless if it's like SpongeBob driving around doing the board exam, Squidward using the handsome Squidward meme, LT Gray slashing away characters, Ember using a music with a big music blast, Grandma Gertie using a train to literally hit people, they essentially have the same purpose of having a huge damage to whoever they can catch, while also doing a big knockback as well. Slime Taunt. A slime effect can be added to one of your taunts, doing absolutely nothing except disrespecting your opponents. It sounds like it will just do like a quick slime effect on one of the character's standard taunts, but still, it just adds more salt to the wound, or in this case, more slime to the wound. The slime mechanic definitely adds a lot to these characters in terms of what type of things you can do with the slime meter, and how you can use the slime meter effectively depending on the situation. So that will be a lot of fun to see how that will work for every character in the game, regardless of how they feel to play. Speaking about the story campaign, we have some additional information about it, even if it's not as detailed compared to the characters at the moment. All we knew about it before this was that it was a roguelike. It will start off with SpongeBob being our main character, which can unlock the others as the story progresses, and each character will have their own specific storyline to follow. Through the game's Steam page, we have some additional information about certain bits about the campaign that makes me excited to see how this will play out. Like, we can see SpongeBob beating up some Foot Clan ninjas. We can see a bit of the hub wall, which kind of goes into all these star portals that you can go into. Nora Rakeman appears as an NPC character for the shop, which can allow you to buy additional buffs and power-ups for the campaign. We can even see a boss fight with the King Jellyfish. So yeah, we have at least our first look of a boss fight. So all we really know about the boss is that King Jellyfish appears as one of them, and Vlad will more likely appear as the final boss, as the whole plot of the campaign still focuses on Vlad taking over the Nickelodeon universe. So that's all we really know about the story campaign at the moment. So yeah, it's interesting to see how this will play out, and how much of a single player content it will give to people who don't want to focus on the online aspect of the game. So yeah, it's fun. Additionally, I wasn't planning to talk about the release date. On the points I wanted to talk about the game on a document, the release date was there, but at first I was like, well, do we any point really? Because we all kind of know about the release date at this point, but as of October 17th, we have gotten new information about the release date because, well, for the longest time, we didn't know what the release date for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 would have been. At first, it seemed like the game was going to come out on the 24th of October, placing it alongside with games like Sonic Superstars, Super Mario Wonder, and oh, what's that other game I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, Spider-Man 2. So yeah, kind of a crowded time for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 to come out. And it seemed like Nickelodeon and Game Mill kind of agreed on that, because later on, around the end of September, we got a tweet from Nickelodeon All Star Brawl that mentioned about the Steam version of the game, and said that it will be available for a wish list, available on November 3rd. So people thought, okay, November 3rd, this is the release date of the game. It was only until yesterday, however, some people caught on that the retail stockings of Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, particularly on the 4 shopping sites in particular that Nickelodeon's website is linked off from, particularly Target, Best Buy, GameStop, and Amazon, the release date of the game seems to shift it from November 3rd to the 1st of December, making people confused. Some places listed it on the 1st of December, while others still had the 3rd of November release date. What was going on? Well, as of today, in this case the 17th of October, we had gotten new details about the release date. Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 posted a tweet that goes into the release date. They posted this image on Twitter saying, "Brawlers, our release date will be moving slightly as the team looks to put the finishing touches on Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. Digital versions will now release November 7th, retail versions will hit shelves on December 1st. So it seems like the digital users will get the game first because of the November 7th release date, while the people who prefer the physical versions will have to wait a little bit longer for it. So it all depends on how you really prefer getting a game. If you prefer the physical editions of games, this might cause a little bit of issue. But for those who prefer the digital editions, you're in a kind of luck, especially considering we still have the deluxe editions and the alternate editions to talk about. Additionally, as a special bonus, Patrick's elastic waistband costume will now be available for all digital purchases made during the first week of launch from November 7th to the 14th. So for the digital users, regardless if you bought the deluxe edition, the base edition, or the alternate edition, as long as you get the game within the first week of launch, you'll be able to get this skin for Patrick, regardless if you pre-order for the game or not, because like I said, this was a pre-order bonus. So at least if you just get the game within the first week, you'll be able to get this skin regardless if you pre-order or not. Speaking of which, the digital pre-orders for the game is still set to be coming out later at some point in October, so within now until the 31st of October, we still gotta find that out down the line. But there is still a bit more to this whole thing, particularly with the physical versions of Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. So while we may know about the physical release of the game, for those who use the Nintendo Switch version, this is kinda important to state. If you are a PlayStation or an Xbox user, you won't have this issue whatsoever. So if you get the game as it is physically, you'll get the game on the disc and all that stuff. You get the base edition. So you may have to pay for the season pass later, but if you don't mind that stuff, you get the PlayStation 4, 5, or Xbox Series X or One version of Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 with the discs. For the Nintendo Switch users, however, you won't get a cartridge with it. You'll be given a code for the digital version of the base edition. So essentially, you pay $50 just for a box. Yeah, if you're planning to get the game on Switch, you might as well get the game as it is digitally on the 7th of November instead of paying $50 for a box with the code. So that's the only real kind of questionable thing about this. Apparently it is a temporary thing where later on the Switch versions will come with an actual cartridge. So I don't know, we'll find out down the line. It's still a baffling thing to do, but I don't know. It's just how Game Mill works, I guess? I don't know. So yeah, that's our release date. November 7th for all the digital users, and December 1st for all the physical users. So, kind of a weird way of doing it, but I guess this is just how the gaming landscape is going towards. More of digital releases rather than physical. So, I don't know. It's just how it is, I guess. So with that, I think that's all that really needs to be brought up when it comes to Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2 before it's released. Again, everyone has the different opinions on this game, and I've seen people turn on it so quickly after the cut characters were potentially even mentioned. But in general, I'm still excited as hell for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, and well, I can't wait to talk about it eventually down the line again, when I make my review of the game down the line, and maybe as next year goes, talk about more about the DLC characters that come out with the Season Pass. We currently don't know much on that anyway at the moment, so that will be exciting to see that progress throughout the year, which I'm definitely going to get I'm even planning to get the Ultimate Edition of Nick All-Star Brawl 2 on my PlayStation, because in general, I just like the game, I'm already excited, and hell, I'm already thinking of pre-ordering it, because that's the first time I ever actually pre-ordered a game before, so hey, it'd be fun to see how that works out. But that's really about it when it comes to Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. So yeah, I'll more likely talk about it again, maybe down the line in the future, but for now, this is kind of it with Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2. As it comes out, by the time this video comes up, which, I don't know, the 1st, 2nd of November, it'll be literally like a day or two before it comes out, so hopefully things work out with this game. I am hopeful that this game has a better lifetime with people than the first game did. Not to say that the first game immediately dropped off, but it did kind of sunk a bit after a while and never really recovered despite the DLC with Jenny, Hugh, and Wako coming out. So I'm hopeful that this one can... Hell, what am I saying? I don't even care. I say that because I'm hopeful for the game's future, but let's be real, I'm still going to be excited for this game. I'm more likely going to be playing it no matter what. So, yeah, that's kind of it, really. So I'll see you guys until my next video, whenever that comes out, because it's kind of been chaotic lately in terms of what I want to work on. So, I'll see you guys until my next video. See you guys later.